All right, in this video, I'm going to talk about Switch Axe on release. So Switch Axe got a pretty significant buff from the beta. The most substantial buff, and this is actually the largest buff I've seen in the game across all weapons, is the Y combo or the triangle combo for sword mode. It's these moves right here, over, right, left, a 3-hit combo. So yeah, just do that. It does a lot of damage, man, especially combined with the file ticks, and it's really fast. Buffed Axe did not really get that many buffs. I think there's only one move in here that got a slight buff, but other than that, it's pretty much insignificant. The other big winner is the finishers. For release, Slash got a really big buff. Like here, you can see it does 360 damage, and just right here, it pretty much dominates all of them. We'll look at the DPS in a sec for all of these moves to see which one's actually the ones you should be doing. There were also some minor buffs for some of the axe moves as well, but those were the significant damage buffs: the Y combo and FRS. Let's look at some DPS stuff. I feel like Switch Axe, once you understand it, it's actually pretty simple to play. So the main thing you want to prioritize is your B combo in the beginning, just so you can build gauge. B combo being double slash and heaven. The reason you want to do that is because you want to get to amp state, so you can do FRS. In terms of damage, like you can see right here, double slash and heaven, the DPS on those attacks are actually not that good. And again, its sole purpose is to build gauge to get to amp state or red mode. So once you do that, then you can do Y attacks. And like I said earlier, Y attacks do a lot of damage for each hit, and they're really fast, at least relatively speaking. So you can see like here for between 4 and 6 seconds for like full 3-hit Y combos combined with morphs, and you have all kinds of shit you can do with the morph slash after the Y combos. The key takeaway though is the main, so you can see like the damage here, over, right, left, which is your Y3 combo. It does about 33 DPS. Oh, I might as well add here, Morph Sweep is just sucks in this game. Don't do Morph Sweep. Which was funny. I feel like it was pretty strong in the previous games. Like had a really high motion value on it, but here, no. Just do your standard morphing. Yeah, so you can see here, over right, M2 times 2, over right left, M2 times 2. It has pretty good DPS. Again, the large majority of its DPS is actually coming from the Y attacks. It's not really from the morph back to axe mode. And you can see here, this is Y1 into M2 into spiral, and you can see its DPS actually significantly lower than these, and that's because you only get one Y hit in this combo and the rest are all axe hits. This one's pretty interesting too. Y3 into triple slash. That's when you press B after 3 Y hits. And the DPS is actually gimped a little, and that's actually because of the triple slash. The triple slash motion values are actually not that good. I'm still on the fence about triple slash. I feel like it's kind of hurts your gameplay. Like you really don't want, if it doesn't have the damage, then you on a B, it's a B attack, and if it doesn't have the damage and it just takes longer to do, you're doing 3 slashes instead of the double slash. Its ideal purpose is to build gauge, but if it doesn't do damage, and I really don't see a reason you should be doing triple slash. I feel like it hurts me more than it actually helps me, especially when I'm already amped. There's no real reason to do it. You could just loop Y3 instead of doing triple slash. Again, same thing here, Y3 triple into heaven. It's a bit, the DPS is going down. You probably should just prioritize Y attacks instead of doing triple into heaven, especially if you're already amped. Let's talk about spiral burst real quick. So spiral burst slash is the 3rd hit in your axe combo, and it refills the most switch gauge. So the fastest way to get into your spiral from axe is actually just your basic 1, 2, 3 combo. If you're in sword mode, you can do a morph and then go into spiral burst from there. So it's kind of a semi shortcut if you're in sword mode. So you can get the spiral burst off on the 2nd hit. Again, that's only for sword mode, unfortunately. There's actually one more shortcut for spiral burst I want to talk about in a second. But again, if you need to build gauge very quickly, you need to try and prioritize spiral burst slash. The slight challenge with playing Switch Axe is trying to get to spiral burst slash, but not greeting such that you get hit. Trying to get these spiral burst slashes off safely to build resources. Additionally, you could just do focus strike in axe mode. That builds pretty significant gauge as well. All right, so let's talk about big damage. So that's pretty much just FRS. It's pretty funny. So FRS over here does 50 DPS. It's quite strong. If you do a hop cancel of it, that DPS goes up to 65. But you don't actually want hop cancel if you can't help it, because there's actually a move you can do after FRS, which is spiral burst slash, which is that axe move that gives you a lot of gauge. And the reason you want to do that is because it's basically a shortcut into spiral burst slash. It's just a free spiral burst slash most of the time, assuming it's safe, right? And why would you want to do that? Well, you do FRS, it actually spends a lot of gauge, so why not just top it up? The game's giving you a free shortcut into spiral burst slash. Just take it if you have the opportunity to do it. So yeah, FRS does a lot. It just does a lot of damage. Like here, if you cancel out it, whether with the spiral burst slash or hop cancel, 65 DPS. I actually think that's one of the highest highest in the game. You know, I'm still doing all of the other weapons. We got Gunlance coming up. Even Dual Blades, I don't think I've seen like a burst move that does this much damage in a single move. So we got other ones here. We got ZSD. Unfortunately, ZSD is just not that good. It takes 35 DPS, and look how long it takes, like 10 seconds to fully do it. And, you know, granted, you latched onto the monster, but I don't know, just like the damage doesn't really justify it. Just do FRS instead. Yeah, so Switch Axe, you open, try to get amp state as quick as possible with the B attacks. Once you're in amp state, if you have short openings, do Y attacks. They do a lot of damage. Again, like I said, 70% buff from the beta. That's the largest single buff I've seen per move. All right, and then, you know, if you have a larger opening, do FRS. And honestly, you want to try to squeeze as many FRSs in as possible. Try to take advantage of the Spiral Burst Slash that the game gives you after you do FRS, just so you can get back gauge. So yeah, buffed axe and heavy slam and all that nonsense, unfortunately it just doesn't do enough damage, you know, because we did not see any significant buffs to buffed axe mode, and the actual buff that it gives you on axe is again still not that good. Axe mode should be purely for using, you know, trying to get off a Spiral Burst Slash to build gauge very quickly so I can go back to sword mode. That's really all axe mode is for. There is some evasive maneuvers that you can do with axe mode. Axe mode is a little bit more easier to play defense in, but then again you have the sword counter, which is a really nice addition to Wilds. It actually makes playing in sword mode a little bit safer as well. There's one thing I want to talk about too is actually focus mode for Switch Axe, and I've found that it's better to use hold mode for focus mode rather than toggle mode for focus mode. And I've been using toggle mode for Sword and Shield, Dual Blades, and pretty much every other weapon. But the reason I say you might want to use hold mode for Switch Axe is because you kind of don't want to stay in focus mode the whole time, because in focus mode, especially in sword mode, you can only hop in focus mode initially, and then if you try to dodge right after the hop, then you'll go into a roll. Whereas if you're outside of focus mode in sword mode, you can just roll. You just point your hunter in direction and they'll just roll instead, which is actually pretty good defense capability. And it's actually very good gap closing, like doing a roll and then morph. It's actually it can reach very far even without evade extender. So that's the one reason I actually say you should not use focus mode for sword mode. Axe mode, you can kind of get away with it. Like if you're in focus mode for axe mode, you can, if you try to dodge to the left or right, you'll hop instead. But if you dodge to front or back, you actually roll in focus mode. So it's not as bad in axe mode, but just something to consider. I've actually been experimenting with playing with hold focus mode, and I feel like this is probably the best way to play Switch Axe, or at least play defense in Switch Axe. Again, you could make the argument though that sword mode has a sword counter, so you're probably not rolling as much as you really need to. But you know, just for me, I'm getting the habit of playing in toggle mode and just kind of seeing how it plays out. One kind of criticism I have on the weapon is I feel like focus strikes are actually harder to land on Switch Axe compared to other weapons. I don't know if it's just like the hitbox, or I just don't fully understand where the trigger point on the actual move of the focus strike is, but it feels like I really have to land the focus strike cleanly in order to get a focus strike off. You know, it may be a bug. I may just have to get used to it. Because the reason I say that is because like some weapons can actually hit through monster parts and reach a wound on the other side of the monster and still land the focus strike. Whereas with Switch Axe, I never really had that experience. Anytime I tried to kind of hit through the monster part and reach a part on the other side, like you would expect the Switch Axe focus strike to actually hit those because it's so long, the weapon, and actually can reach through, but it just doesn't register sometimes. So that's kind of weird. There are a couple things I actually want to experiment a little bit more with Heaven Slash, so subscribe for that content in the future if that's something you're more interested in, like more top 5%, 1% optimization for the actual moveset of Switch Axe. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that video. Thanks for watching.